They thought their German shepherd had finally turned on the boy. Every instinct they had told them to pull him away. Every instinct was wrong. The sound of a toddler hitting the floor is unmistakable. A dull, heavy thud that moves through the floorboards, followed by a split second of silence, before the scream. Maya Okonkwo heard it from the kitchen and was already moving before the cry had fully formed. She found her son, Ellie, 18 months old, on the living room floor, crying hard. Standing over him was Kaiser, 92 pounds of German shepherd, head lowered, muzzle 6 inches from the boy's face. She grabbed Kaiser by the collar and pulled. He didn't move. Maya had been a licensed paramedic for 9 years. She had triaged children in apartment fires, in car wrecks, in situations that had no good endings. She knew what she knew. And what she knew in that moment was the size of the animal above her son, and the angle of his jaw, and the way his eyes were locked and not releasing. She called for her husband, David. David came in from the garage and read the room in under 3 seconds. He got his hands around Kaiser's chest and hauled backward. Kaiser turned his head and looked at David with an expression neither of them had seen before. Then he turned back to Eli and lowered his muzzle again, pressing his nose directly toward the toddler's face. Eli was still crying, face red, fists clenched near his ears, legs kicking against the carpet. David said what Maya had been thinking for 30 seconds. Something's wrong with him. I've never seen him do this. Kaiser had been in their home for 4 years. He had been there before Eli. He had passed a professional temperament evaluation, had completed obedience training with a certified handler, had never once shown resource guarding, food aggression, or dominance behavior with any human. He was, in the words of his trainer, a remarkably stable working breed temperament, and right now he was standing over a crying toddler and would not be moved. Maya got between them. She lifted Eli from the floor. Kaiser followed. He sat 3 feet away and fixed his gaze on the boy's face and did not look away. His nostrils moved in rapid, shallow pulses. His ears were forward. His body was still. He was not aggressive. He was doing something else entirely, something that looked, from the outside, exactly like threat. They put Kaiser in the laundry room and shut the door. He scratched at it twice and then went quiet. That silence felt, at the time, like the problem resolving. Eli had calmed in Maya's arms. His crying slowed. He felt warm, which she noted but filed under ordinary afternoon fussiness. She put him in the high chair with soft crackers and a cup. He ate 3 crackers and stopped. His head lolled slightly to one side. She assumed he was tired. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you were in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. From the laundry room came a sound she had not heard Kaiser make in 4 years. Not barking, not scratching, something lower, sustained, a vocalization that climbed from his chest and pressed itself through the door and filled the hallway. David looked at her. She was already setting down her coffee. She opened the laundry room door. Kaiser moved past her at a pace she would describe later as controlled urgency. Not running, but not walking either. He went directly to the high chair, rose onto his rear legs with both paws on the tray, and shoved his muzzle directly into Eli's face. Eli's head snapped up. His eyes were open but unfocused, glassy in a way that made the back of Maya's neck go cold. She knew that look. She had seen it in the back of ambulances. She pulled Eli from the high chair and called 911 with one hand while holding him against her chest with the other, giving the dispatcher information in the clipped clinical language of someone trained to do exactly this, under exactly this kind of pressure. Eli's blood glucose registered at 34 milligrams per deciliter in the driveway. The floor of normal is 70. At 34, a toddler's brain is running on fumes. The body begins compensating in ways that produce almost no visible external signs, no dramatic distress, no convulsion, just a slow, quiet dimming, the kind that looks from the outside, like a tired child in a high chair on an ordinary afternoon. Has your dog ever done something that made no sense until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. Dr. Priya Nair, Pediatric Endocrinology, Children's National Hospital, sat across from them the following morning. She had reviewed Kaiser's behavior from Maya's description with the precision of someone who had read the literature on canine olfactory detection, and she used a specific term, volatile organic compound signature. When blood glucose drops in a toddler, the body begins producing measurable chemical markers in exhaled breath, compounds detectable by a dog at concentrations far below any human threshold, sometimes 20 minutes before a glucometer would confirm the shift. Kaiser had been trying to read Eli's breath from the moment the boy hit the floor. Every press of his muzzle toward the child's face had been a medical assessment. Every refusal to be moved had been the refusal of an alarm that could not turn itself off. Every moment they had spent pulling him away had been a moment of delay. Dr. Nair looked at them directly. If that dog had not forced you to check on your son when he did, we would be having a very different conversation right now. Eli was 20 minutes from a seizure. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. The behavior rewind was a specific kind of pain, Kaiser pressing his face to Eli's on the floor. Not aggression. He was reading the drop in real time. Kaiser following when Maya carried the boy. Not territorial behavior. He was tracking a patient who was deteriorating. Kaiser in the laundry room, going silent and then sounding that one sustained note. He was not accepting the situation. He was deciding something. The scratch at the door that became a vocalization, that became a warning. No one in that house had been trained to hear. They drove home on a Tuesday evening with Eli stable and sleeping in his car seat and a glucose monitor now clipped to his left arm. Kaiser was waiting at the back door, which David had left unlocked. He walked in without ceremony, without drama, without any behavior that named what had happened. He went to the living room and lay down on the floor beside the playmat, chin on his paws. Eli was transferred from car seat to crib. Maya came back to the living room and sat on the floor near Kaiser, without saying anything. After a long moment, she put her hand on his side. His rib cage expanded and contracted slowly under her palm. He exhaled once, long and even, and turned his head to look at her. Outside the window, the neighborhood was completely ordinary. Inside, Kaiser lay on the floor beneath the steady green blink of a monitor that would now do part of his job for him, watching the door to the room where the boy slept, the way he had been watching all along. The next story involves a dog who kept returning to the same spot in the yard for 3 weeks. What the family found there changed everything.